More lunch break.
Wow. Manly, deep,
booming.
I know, I was really enthusiastic.
Yeah, what are you squeezing here? Thank you, Simu, for coming back on. In case you guys don't know, he is on a show called Kim's Convenience.
I am, yeah.
You've been on this show before. Last time we talked about like
Differences between the US and Canada.
last time you were on here, was Kim's Convenience out in America yet? I don't think it was.
No. It's only been out for like half a year.
So that's why it makes sense now for us to. I think now we
nobody
can talk
knew
about
why.
Kim's Convenience.
Yeah. Good.
When we were filming Yappy, we weren't like, oh, it's the Kim's Convenience guy. It's like, oh, this is just a meeting mommy guy. Yeah. Then we went on tour, and then we were introducing you. It was like, hey, you guys know this guy from Kim's Convenience.
Congratulations that it's made it across the border.
Thank you. I'm so happy that people actually watch it now. It's
Netflix
crazy.
America.
It's kind of weird when like I know all my friends are talking about it just in the past 6 months, but in the back of my head I know that Canada's had it for like 2 years. It's kind of like, so we went to Toronto this past year. I was like, oh, if I talk about Kim's Convenience, is that old news to them?
Well, the good thing about the show is like, we
going.
were really surprised with how well it's resonated with everybody, and like, we're about to premiere our 3rd season in Canada.
Well, I think it's just so cool that when it started coming on Netflix here, it's like you turn on Netflix and like, oh, here's a brand new show and another Asian.
But it's not really brand new.
People that didn't know that it even existed, it's like, oh, it's like a surprise gift. It's like, oh, this exists, Oh, and there's 2 seasons already. Like, I think
That's sort of like how Americans like feel like when that comes out. It seems like, oh yeah, like we're like the cool and hip people. We're actually just Columbusing actually some other.
Columbusing our show.
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, that's one of like the sort of, challenges of debuting on like not a real network. You can't really air commercials of the show. So, one of the ways that we got word out was just through the community. And the community's come out for us, and supported us in such a huge way.
Yeah, you're welcome. Can I have
Basically,
one?
it's just like,
Sorry, go.
I guess you could have one.
One time.
Our social medias all blew up, and we have fans from not only, the States, but like, other parts of the English-speaking world, but also just like countries that you wouldn't expect. Like, we have a lot of fans in like Indonesia and India.
I heard in like Korea, you can watch it now.
Do Koreans like it?
I think they do.
Let's talk about the show a little bit more specifically. So, a lot of people don't know this, but it's based on a play. How did they turn the play into a show? Like, what was the actual play in the beginning?
So the original play, Kim's Convenience, was written by Ins Choi. And they've been workshopping it for a while, and actually Paul was kind of attached to the play from like very, very early on, right from the first time that they workshopped the play.
Paul is Appa.
The play went on the Toronto Fringe. It ended up basically like selling out its entire run. It was like the success story of Fringe. So the play at that point was just like, it was just his brainchild. It was just something that he had written and actually had gotten rejected by all these theater companies across Canada. When they finally succeeded at Fringe, all of a sudden they came knocking. And so it became this big kind of Canadian sensation. The play is not exactly the same as the show, but there's a lot of like moments and scenes that are very familiar, and people were saying from the beginning like it seems like a really good sitcom setup. And so yeah, we found a great production partner, we found a great network partner, and now we're rolling.
What was the main story of the play though?
So the play kind of like takes place over just the course of a day.
Oh,
and
just
it's
one
really,
day?
Yeah. It's actually only like, it's one act, there's no intermission.
Oh.
And it's mostly just, Appa, Amma, and Janet just kind of like running through the
So your
story.
character's not even really in it?
So Jung is in 2 scenes in the entire play.
You're a minor character?
I'm So Ince wrote the role of Jung for himself, so I'm just, he's
Can we
he's
get your sister
small,
on the
but,
show instead?
Oh my God. There is no small parts, okay? Only small actors.
Aww.
And so yeah, Jung's part, like he has 2, he talks to his mother at a church because he's been estranged from his dad.
Okay.
And then at the very, very end of the play, he comes back to the store and him and his dad have like a moment.
So then you came on and they expanded your character.
How was the audition process?
It was honestly, I was doing another show at the time called Taken. And
Oh yeah, I saw clips of that.
oh my God.
Oh man,
yeah.
you were so
So
cool.
it was a wonderful, wonderful little show that I was a part of for a very small amount. I got cast on the pilot, and that shot before Kim's. And then the audition for Kim's kind of came along, and we were like, uh-oh. And then, and then they kept calling me back, and it just kept like whittling down until I remember for my screen test was my final audition. I show up and the sign-in sheet is blank. It was just me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I remember it made me feel way more nervous because I was like, okay, if I don't end up getting this, that means that like, they literally, I was so bad that they were like, no, we're gonna go back to square one. Like,
We're just scrap the whole
we're
project.
just scrap the whole project.
One and Jung.
So you told me one thing that I thought was, as a filmmaker, I should probably know better, but I actually thought that they shoot in the actual convenience store because, I don't know, I thought you guys bought it out or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's we get that a lot actually.
Because it actually exists and it's
yeah.
a functioning store. So I mean, just like a lot of shoots, they just close it down for the day or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just thought you guys just bought this convenience store.
I think that's a testament to our production design. I think it's really, really convincing. But I mean, when you see Kim's Convenience on the street, that is an actual store on Queen Street in Toronto called Kim's Convenience, and we use that.
I went to it.
Yeah, you guys went to it. But then as soon as we punch in, we go into the studio. So all the interiors of the store are shot on a soundstage. And what that allows us to do is so the store is very much the same, but the dimensions are a little bit bigger. There's a lot of crew and a lot of cameras that got to run through the areas, but sometimes have to just take out entire walls, and we can't necessarily do that in an actual convenience store. So,
But there are sometimes when you guys have used the actual store too, like exteriors and stuff.
yeah, only for exteriors on the street.
The studio is much nicer, I'll just say that.
So how is everyone like on set or like in the cast? Like is Appa really like Appa?
He's great, man. He gives every single person on the crew, every cast member, like a big hug.
Wow.
Big hug when when they wrap for the day.
Oh,
He's really like
Gracious.
Yeah, gracious and kind of instilled that in all of us.
Yeah.
Kind of this sense of like gratitude for where we are, the sense of like humility, the sense of like we're on the show, but like
True father.
the other thing is though, just because of the way that our stories are structured, like Jung is estranged from the family and everything, like we actually spend very little time together.
that's true.
So it's almost like we shoot like two different shows at once. Like on the one hand, it's this like little quirky family comedy at a convenience store,
Yeah.
and then like meanwhile, we're also shooting this like workplace comedy with like this guy's best friend and his like boss.
Yeah, Andrew, right?
Yeah.
And your will they won't they situation with your boss.
I love those storylines. That was like my favorite part of the first season.
I'm gonna say I don't want to see it happen.
You don't want to see it happen? Why not?
It's too early. It's only season 3. What about your sister?
We definitely have this this brother-sister relationship. Like everyone always asks us if our relationship in real life is the same as our show, and like I think while we don't like call each other every single day, like you don't call your family every single day. If they ever need you, they reach out and you're always there for them. We definitely have a chat group and we text every now and again, but we're just doing our thing.
For the record, we wanted her to be on this episode too. We were gonna get rid of Taylor. We would have so much rather had Andrew.
Janet.
I know, she's got to come out. She's got to come out. She's a big fan of you. So I don't want to speak for her, but I think
Yeah, next time just take Simu's spot actually.
Yeah.
What do you think about your character? I feel like you with representation of, Asian Americans, like obviously this show's huge. Your character specifically as like, not a traditional or predictable stereotype of like an Asian guy on a show.
You mean like hot?
No, like you're a delinquent and you work at a rental car store.
It's kind of dumb.
You're kind of dumb.
Okay, I see.
And you have fake tattoos. But it's cool though. Like you have a little like you're like a bad boy.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, I mean,
Yes, you are hot in it, okay?
thank you. No, I think anything that really challenges the status quo of what you see on screen is good, and it's good to get the audience thinking, and it's good to introduce audiences to something that they haven't seen before. I mean, especially with this idea of like, a working class Asian family where the guy is not a genius, is not like a doctor or a lawyer or like academically inclined. That exists out in the world. There's plenty of us who are like that.
I mean, like, we love the show. Like, we're so grateful for Netflix to kind of give it a platform and share it with the American audience.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how Netflix kind of breathed new life into the show. Almost kind of taking ownership of it. Kind of like, it's not even associated with CBC for most viewers now. It's like, hey, this is a Netflix
Well,
show.
in America.
Yeah.
In Canada, people call it a CBC show.
Yeah, it's a CBC show. It's very much a CBC show. I mean, CBC is a huge partner. Like they're super supportive in that they, in season 2, they sent us all around the country to kind of promote it and to meet fans, and we held like screening events from Vancouver, all the way to St. John's in Newfoundland, and we had so many fans of the show just come out and show their support. What Netflix is able to do is to allow us to be accessible to a much wider audience. Our goal was always to have, I think, people from Korea watch it and to just to kind of show them what life is like in a different country for that Korean family.
And it's like normalizing like just like everyday family.
It's about striking that balance, right? It's like, at what point do you lose kind of the thread of this universal family, but then at what point do you wash down your specificity so much that it's like unrecognizable?
I remember like when we were filming Yappy, or towards the end, you were talking about how like we're in negotiations with Netflix, and like you knew what it meant for the show's future.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of knows that like if you get it to Netflix, it's gonna they have so much power, and that it will.
They have so much power now. Too much power.
It's almost like that's the goal for a lot of people, or like just like there's writers and or people that are trying to get stuff off the ground. Like
I think where kind of the entertainment industry is kind of just headed now is just to a place where, because the audience is just getting more and more power based on they're able to access content when they want to. So
It's funny though, like I think people, they kind of oversimplify what Netflix is. Because people tell us, like, yeah, why don't you go pitch a show to Netflix? It's actually not that easy. Like, I think there was a very small window of time when Netflix was trying to prove that they were, powerful and they were taking more risks.
And then they proved it.
They proved it, and now,
And then now they're
all the
taking over
biggest
the
stars and A-listers are coming to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it might be a while before you see a Wong Fu show on Netflix, but we're trying.
Never say never. You've dealt with Netflix before. You've got, everything before us was on Netflix for a while.
That is true. We got on
So
there.
like
it's not like
and that was like a big deal back then
That
too.
was a big
like,
deal for us, yeah.
Like, cause our movie was out for almost a year before it came on Netflix, I think. And we like saw new viewership and comments and reviews coming in from people that don't even know Wong Fu. So like we saw the impact on our side, and then people saw that as a huge achievement when like we saw it as like the last window. So it
Like,
was,
yeah, I guess we'll throw this up on Netflix.
yeah, it was like we had a great time with you.
Thank you so much for having lunch. It's just wonderful.
Also, start of the year, you can purchase one of our calendars. If you can't see Simu on season 3 of Kim's, you can get him.
You can see a whole lot of him on this calendar.
April is my birth month, so it's the best month, and that's why I am April.
hey, are your nipples aligned though?
That's from the show. You can pick up one at wongfustore.com.
Anyway, so for those of you watching in Canada, Kim's Convenience comes out January 8th on CBC. We air Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And for those of you outside of Canada, please be patient. We don't have a release date yet, but we hope that you will be able to enjoy season 3.
I'll have to finish the second season.
You haven't finished.
Wow!
Anyway,
Wasn't that a prerequisite for this?
Just kidding.
it'll be worth the wait.
Now I know how much our friendship is worth to you.
Hey, what do you think of Single by 30?
I loved Single by 30. I loved the pilot episode.
You didn't finish?
It was great, and it was, my favorite part about it was that it was free to watch. Lots of character development.
I know you watched this one.
I mean,
next Thursday, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye, Guys. Kim's Convenience. It's so convenient to come into our store. Kim's Convenience.